Okay guys, hello and welcome back to the Novice Lumberjack, where you are going to see the frustrations that I've been having with these Husqvarna X-Cut chains. Alright, so real quick, try and get this as quick as I can. Upper left is a lightly used Husqvarna X-Cut chain on a Poland Pro 330. All of these are the exact same chainsaw, all of them is 14 by 14 red oak cant. The lightly used X-Cut chain is typical of what I'm using for a woodsman whack-off. So, over to the right, top right, that is a very typical off-brand 3/8 full chisel chain that I have sharpened several times, like 6 or 7 times. I've used that thing a lot. I've even knocked a tooth off of it almost completely, and I hit a nail or something, and I filed it to where it's right. Point of adding that in there is I can sharpen a chain decently, and then the bottom on the left we have the lightly used X-Cut chain that was taken to the shop, and the shop used their machine and put an edge on it. And then bottom right, that is me sharpening it. And the way I sharpen is I've got a steel 3/8 guide with the 7/30 seconds file. It's always worked for me in the past. I do hit it. I'll typically then take it out of there and take the file out of the guide and get into the gullet. And then I've got the typical plate that goes across the top of the chain to sit down to see if my rakers need to be hit. That's the way I file. And in this bottom right, I'm actually filing. It is a Husqvarna chain that is only seen whack-off duty. That's all it's seen. It's good, clean wood. Doesn't even have any bark on it. All right, so it's not cutting through dirt or anything. Very, very, very mild use. But I said, you know what? I got to get this back up to par. And I sharpened it again using my standard methods. Didn't have to do much at all to it. But it didn't work, as you're going to see. So I then took that same chain and I took it to a shop. That's what you see in the bottom left. The shop put their edge on it. Both times I checked the rakers with my raker gauge. And they didn't need to get hit because it's a brand new effing chain. It's hardly been used at all. Now it's been sharpened twice. Once by me, bottom right, didn't work. Once by the shop, bottom left, didn't work. And then just to showcase that I can sharpen a chain, I've got an old, spent, I mean it's not spent, it's perfectly fine. It's about at half-life. Just a basic off-brand chain in the top right that I have sharpened using my typical methods. A steel file, 7/30 seconds on a steel guide, and then I check the rakers to see if they need to be hit. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. And then top left is the actual lightly used Husqvarna chain out of the box. All right, so let's see how it works. You can see I got them all labeled up there. And all these saws are throwing good chips. Look at the chips I'm throwing. Throwing good chips. I will say that lightly used X-Cut is throwing the most chips. It's like really looking great. Boom, done, 1625. Very typical. The one that I sharpened, the off-brand, it's only 4 seconds behind. That's not too bad. But then the shop sharpened is 10 seconds behind. 10 seconds, man, and it's shop sharpened. And then mine is 20 seconds behind. That's freaking crazy. That is just absurd, guys. And so what I'm fixing to do is I got one of these. I've been told that this is really what you need to sharpen these X-Cut chains, and we're going to find out. It is actually for an X-Cut. It is actually for a 3/8, and it says right on there that it works for the C83, which is what I use, and the C85. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go sharpen that chain that's in the bottom right corner. That same chain, we're going to sharpen that using this method. It also has, if you can see in there, it has a depth gauge or a raker gauge of sorts to tell me if I need to hit the rakers as well. So I'm going to do my best effort at this, and I'm going to try and sharpen that same chain, and we're going to see if I can get it close to the 16 seconds that the out-of-the-box chain will cut at. Here we go. All right, so we have this one in because we're wanting to see where Husqvarna has it set up. This is the guide, and you have hardwood and softwood. And you take it, you put it down there like this, and let that back edge hit all the way into that corner right there. All right. So this is hardwood. And there's nothing there. Maybe, yeah, there is a slight. I can feel it ever so slightly for the hardwood. And we go in here, over here on the softwood, and I definitely feel it on the softwood. So I would say from the factory, they probably have this thing set up for hardwood. And which is good because I'm running hardwood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the other chain that I need to file, and I will file it to the factory specifications for hardwood. Okay, I finally got this all figured out. I got a rhythm to it, and damn if this thing ain't nice. This thing is really working out for me. So it's very simple once you figure it out. Flop it right down on there. There we go. That's the best I have ever had. That is a great file. Moving on. There we go. All right, now for the teefers, the rakers. All right, so we're on a different side now, and this is my first time trying it from this side, so it's a little bit different for me. Hardwood. What I did figure out, I don't know how much y'all can see, probably not a whole lot, but instead of putting it back there, I've been going like that. I feel like it gives me better results, it's easier to do. There we go. A lot needed to come off of that, huh? There we go. And if there's anybody out there that can't understand why this isn't wearing away my guide, it's because this guide is harder than this file. So the file can't quite cut the guide. Now either I'm taking way too much off of these rakers, or that's just the way it is. I don't know. Cut into that tooth a lot. That's what it looks like up top. I'm telling you, if this works, I am going to be very, very happy about it. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. All right, we'll have to warm up the saw a little bit. What's the verdict? It feels like it's cutting good. We won't know until we see the times. I mean, it's impossible to know. These things get so close. It does. It feels like it's cutting good. It also feels like it's slightly more aggressive than it was out of the box. It is grabbing a little bit, and maybe that's a little bit of me getting used to that setup and everything. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to go back and re-edit this and see how they do. And if it's close, it's going to be awesome, because using that, once I figured it out, which it wasn't hard to figure out, but using that really was the easiest I've ever had sharpening a chain. Took my brain out of it, and it just let me go. So hopefully this worked. Let's go check it out, edit it up, and we'll see. Well, wasn't that just special? Very, very good news for me, because I've been trying to figure these X-cut chains out. And again, I'm not the best sharpener ever, but I'm getting better and better. And I thought that I had figured it out with the regular chains, and now this X-cut it's not completely different. And if I had spent a ton of time sitting there, I could have just filed it free-handed. But now that you got to establish a baseline, and you got to figure out where you're at before you can start freehanding and stuff. You got to understand that chain, and I feel like I understand it better now. That sharpening guide setup, that's great. I'm going to try and put that to use on my other stuff as well. It's far better, far better than the old ways of doing things. I mean, and I guess it could be that chain. I don't know. But the point is it did really well. That chain, because it had went through me sharpening it, and it didn't do right. And then I sent it to a shop. The shop sharpened it, and it didn't do right for them either. And who knows how much they took off of it. I don't know. He may have done 4 different passes thinking, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Whatever. That guy's kind of your typical, I mean, I don't want to talk bad about anybody, but you know, he's typical because he's got some years on him. He thinks that he knows more than everybody younger than him. And he's said a lot of BS to me before. Like one of the things he thinks that you don't have to touch the rakers if you take them down whenever the chain is brand new. If you take the hardness off of them, you just give them a couple swipes. The rakers, give them a couple swipes, and then you never have to touch them again because they will wear out as the chain wears out. That's what he thinks. And, I mean, yeah, it may help out to where you don't have to hit the rakers quite as often. Possibly. But wood doesn't really go through the metal like that. Anyways, that's like saying that you could use the chain all you want, and it's going to continue to cut the cutter down. It just doesn't do that. It dulls the cutter, and you have to resharpen the cutter, and that's what makes the cutter shorter. But wood is not going to wear down your rakers. So anyways, he also thinks that I am going to blow up my saws because I told him my partner 5,000 plus. This is before I got rid of it. I said, he was saying that the old saws, all they ever pulled was 8,000 RPMs. And I said, really? He said, yeah. And I said, I got an old partner 5,000 plus that'll pull 13,000 RPMs out of the box. And that guy, he looked at me like, and he just went, good luck. And so I'm like, yeah, he's full of shit. So I try not to go there that often. And anyways, hopefully he doesn't see this video. But if he does, I don't care. Come on. You got to know. You got to be okay whenever somebody figures out, hey, you're full of shit, man. I don't, you can't just take down the rakers a little bit when the chain is brand new and then never again touch them, which is what he says happens. He says they wear down naturally as you go. Okay, buddy. But anyways, back to the point. The point is that filing system really worked well. And what worked really well is the depth gauge. I mean, I can't remember if I even showed it in the video. I get long-winded. I put my regular depth gauge finder on there, and it never showed that either one of those chains, the brand new one or the used one, it never showed that it needed to hit the rakers at all. And so that was the number one problem. My rakers were too high. But how am I going to know that the rakers are too high whenever my actual depth gauge that tells me the actual depth of the rakers, and it says, hey, yeah, it's good. You're good, man. You don't have to do a damn thing. So anyways, I really like that Husqvarna system, and the differences in cuts. So I checked it. I got it on my computer. The first 2 cuts was less than 1 second difference between the out of the box versus the really, really, really small tooth. I've sharpened it a lot and taken it down a lot chain. So there was less than a second difference between the first 2 cuts, right? And on the third cut, it was about 1.5 seconds difference. Now that right there could have been, if you noticed, I did not tune the chainsaw, and we have slightly different weather today. It could have been, well, this has been, I don't know, a week or more since I did the original first test with that pollen on that log. And so it could have been that log dried out a little bit. It could very well be that if I tested 2 chains right now, those 2 chains, that they would be a perfect match. So I am happy. I can continue using the X-Cut chains that I started with, and I think that I will get better results from here on out because I will be starting with a chain that wasn't already screwed up by me doing a different filing system, then by a shop hitting it and doing whatever the hell they did to it, and then finally coming back and hitting it with the proper cutting system. And I had, you saw those teeth, they were tiny. I had taken a lot off to get it back to where it should have never left. So I'm very happy about this. Very happy about that Husqvarna filing guide system. Yes, I would recommend you guys getting them. It's great. And yeah, the depth gauge setup is a progressive depth gauge guide. So as that tooth gets smaller, you are changing the amount that you are taking off of it. Anyways, it's great. This has been a long-winded video, and I'm your host, the most long-winded mother trucker of all, Bodie. I hope you liked the video. And if you think I'm just stupid enough to bear, please like and subscribe. And if you want to go above and beyond, visit my website, which is woodsmanessentials.com, and buy something. Later.